up, everybody? I'm Jason, this is the Freebird Garage, and today we are doing a how-to on a primary/transmission on this 1998 Harley Davidson Sportster, and we're going to go through the step-by-step process, following by, of course, manual from 1998 from Harley Davidson. Best way to always make sure that you've got the right specs for everything to get done correctly, because this is an easy job. Anyone can essentially do this one, but if you don't do it correctly, you will have some problems with your clutch not engaging, clutch drag, as told by the service manual. So let's get to it. By the service manual, first part we got to cover is make sure the bike is warmed up. Now we're going to dive into what we're going to need to have. Of course, for your bottom drain down here, which we'll cover, you need a 3/4 inch wrench. And then you're going to need a T27 to remove the cover here. Funnel, a drain pan of some sort of what you need, rags to cover up everything. And to know the difference between this type of Evo and the big Evo, you're gonna have like a standard like 3 fluid change you'd have on the big Evo. You'd have your transmission, your primary, and your engine oil. This one only has 2 because they're joined together, the transmission on the primary on the Sportsters in particular. So you only have to drain this one spot, and then you're going to be good to go to be able to fill it back up, and you got your transmission and your primary covered. They're married together is what they're considered. So let's go ahead, get this drained, get it done. This bolt right here is the one bolt we need to remove. Get in there, loosen it up. All right, we got everything drained out. Here is the drain plug. And as you can see, there's just a little bit of fragments on there. Not too bad at all. That's what you want to see. Very little. It's a high friction area, so you're gonna have little bits and pieces on there. Per the manual, you want to wipe and get that cleaned up, just like any other drain plug you'd have, your oil drain plug. Clean this up. There is an O-ring on here as well, and there's no cracks. There's no wear on it. There hasn't been any previous drip, so we're good to go. I'm gonna leave that there. There's no reason to touch that one. We're gonna slap that back in. Now, before you go and drain this, I did note that you wanna have the bike up and down. Manual does not want it to be sideways. You don't wanna be on the jiffy stand, the kickstand. You wanna have it up and down, perpendicular, the best way you can. I have it on a lift, of course, here. You can use any other stand that'll just get it up and down for you. That way it drains properly. You get every bit of oil that drains from this case right down the easiest spot. So let's get this drain plug in and we'll get to the install. Drain plug all cleaned up right there. I used a little brake clean to get inside the top here. Make sure it was nice and clean to be put back in. Before we tighten this down, the service manual does not know a torque spec for this. So that just generally is going to tell you that you need to get it nice and snug. It's a drain plug. You don't need to reef on it, because if you strip it, you're gonna have a real bad day trying to remove that in the future, or you're gonna have future leaks of any kind. So just give it a good snug. That oil ring that's inside of there will help keep it closed up. That's what we're gonna do. And in fact, you could feel it just stop, so there's no need for any over torquing. Once you feel that snug, you're good to go. All right, removing the derby cover. By the manual, you need a T27 here, right there. Start popping these off. And just in case, I'm gonna throw this drain pan over, because there's probably some residual oil still left up top here. All right, so this one's a little tight because this foot peg here is real close up to here. I'm gonna see if I can get a universal joint to get it more of a flat right into that Torx bit. All right, we'll see if this works. Get it in there. They're real easy to torch the threads on these. So you wanna make sure we get it nice and pressured into it. There we go. This is something that you'd assume would be really easy to pop off. You go and do it, you're not directly on there, and now you're chasing a bolt with some torch threads on the outside, and that's not fun. Takes your 30-minute job into a 3-day debacle. All right, and we're good and open to get the fluid dropped in. All right, before we go ahead and start adding the fluid into this primary transmission, you want to note a couple things. One, we're going to switch our funnel here, a lot skinnier to work our way into the casing. We have a clutch cable that's coming across and the clutch adjustment. Now I'm not adjusting that today. If you're going to be in here and you want to get into it, this is a great time to, might as well. But I'm just doing the primary fluid, of course, for the video. And I have this funnel that I showed you in the beginning. It just won't work. And lastly, we have an Evolution clutch inside of here. It is a red style clutch basket. It's different from, of course, the stock. It's a performance clutch basket. It's a very nice clutch. You know, you can change to a lot higher torque on here or a lot higher friction area. Allows you to, you know, if you want to pop some wheelies and all that stuff, it's a great clutch to move into. Now, that aside, that type of clutch, I want you to use a Type F by their standard, just standard. I believe that's for Ford. From any O'Reilly's, the auto parts stores you want to pick up from, you can go with that. But for the factory service manual, you can use any big twin primary. You can put it in there. It'll be fine. Standard. As long as you're doing your transmission or your transmission primary fluid switches between the 5,000 and you're keeping up with it, you should have no problem. All right, and the service manual does say that it needs 32 fluid ounces to fill up this basket, or there's a fill line. I'm gonna show you guys on a picture instead because trying to get in there is way too dark. I just try to get the camera to see if they'll pick it up, but it's buried in there. There's a gear set that's below on your clutch basket, and then right above the reseated line on that clutch is where you want to go, and I'll put up the picture so it explains better. All right, throwing the cover back on. Gasket is still in great contact, no tears, nothing's been split, no cracks. So we're gonna throw the cover back on now, and we're gonna hand tighten each screw here. All right, so now we're gonna torque these down 7 to 9 foot-pounds per bolt, and we're gonna start off with 7. All right, and now we're gonna bump it to 9. All right, guys, this wraps it up for the how-to on the primary stage transmission oil change for this Harley Davidson 1200C from 1998, done by the service manual, step by step to make sure it's correct. And as well as everything else, make sure that you do a 5,000 mile oil change on your primary stage transmission, and make sure that your level of your clutch when your fluid is being added back into it is correct, because you're going to have a clutch slippage or clutch drag if it is not correctly done or overfilled. So that about wraps it up for me in this one, guys. I would greatly appreciate if you could hit the subscribe button, tap that like, press the notification, leave a comment below and tell me what you think. And for those that have already subscribed, thank you. And as always, stay free. I'll catch you guys later. Peace.